Hi there, welcome to This Must Be Talking Heads. I'm Rodney, the world's best and only Talking Heads historiologist, and today I've got a new episode of what I've been calling BOOTCAMP, which is where I look back at old and obscure Talking Heads recordings or releases. In this case, it's a release that probably wouldn't necessarily classify as like a live bootleg or something like that, but it is something that's a little bit odd and it's a little bit hard to find. And there was also someone that came onto my radar recently who I wanted to talk to about Talking Heads, and this seemed just like the perfect fit. So firstly to my guest today, musician, songwriter and performer Jake Zavracky. Jake is one of two main people in the band Dream Eaters, along with Elizabeth LeBaron, and as we'll get into during the interview, a few other people are involved in that project. They make great music that's just so fun to listen to and just so unique and unlike really anything anyone else is doing.
Every little picture of you is like a present from a spank bank, the spank bank. Every little move that you do is like a present from a spank bank, the spank bank.
So I hope you enjoy hearing a little bit more about them in my talk with Jake. But the release I'm talking about today is called Storytelling Giant. You may have heard of it. It's a direct-to-video home release of Talking Heads music videos all cut together into one project that you can watch from start to finish. Stitching together all the music videos are a bunch of interviews that David Byrne did with a bunch of random people, some very random people, and some very random clips come out of this. And sometimes they're on theme and sometimes they're not. But the jumping off point for this conversation is us talking about this Storytelling Giant release, and we also get to know a lot about Jake and about Dream Eaters and what they're all about. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. One last thing before we get started is that I did a silly thing when I recorded this on my mic settings, so I sound a little bit off. But Jake sounds great. Hope you enjoy this conversation with my guest this week, who is Jake Zavracky. I can't believe I'm talking to you. What a great day for me. How are you? And thanks for coming on the show.
I'm great. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you for coming on the show to talk about Talking Heads. The idea of this show, I guess, in theory, is that I talk about Talking Heads, but I need these loose excuses to reach out to interesting people that I just genuinely want to talk to. You have a background of music that goes back so long, and I want to unpick a little bit of it, but specifically what caught my eye recently was Dream Eaters, this project that's you're in, that you lead. Can you just let people know who have never heard of Dream Eaters before what Dream Eaters is and what they should expect?
I mean, first and foremost, it's a band that makes pop music. Like, that's all you would really need to know to get into the Dream Eaters, okay? Sure. Like, just, they're a band, let me listen to their music on Spotify.
Yes.
And then from there, you might be a little surprised at the subject matter. And then if you ventured into our videos, that's what kind of makes it into an art project more than just a band. We have these very colorful, strange, psychotic videos. That are, sort of about like the different facets of the psyche. That might make it sound like more intellectual than it actually is. A lot of the stuff is quite stupid. So,
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm doing great.
I'm doing great.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
I'm doing great.
I'm totally fine.
I've been thinking about it as a bit of a soundtrack for these uncertain times that we live in, and just making explicit some of the underlying dread and anxiety that most people just have in their lives. They're very social media friendly in some ways, but also, and this is where I'm going to just like plow you with praise and adoration. I think musically, incredibly strong. You clearly have a very strong background of musical production. The music is really strong. The lyrics and vocals are all top notch, but it also delivers in this other unexpected way. Can you talk a bit about that?
So I've always thought, when I was making music for TV, that, if you have good music in your TV show is going to appear to be much better. I started out purposefully trying to make it look cheap, which is a much easier thing to do.
Yes.
Especially when you're working with green screens and stuff, because they just kind of look very, you just end up with this very flat look to everything, and so that's an easy way to start. And then as I've gotten more experience with it, I've done different ways. I've had different approaches. I still do the cheap thing often, but there's some of it is has a little more depth to it now.
It communicates so much very quickly. Here's the idea that's going on. Bringing it into Talking Heads just a little bit is to say that Talking Heads, I think, and David Byrne in their songwriting were very aware of the ability to create tension very easily between how effective music is at communicating a feeling and then just straight away contradicting that with a conflicting feeling to create tension, use of green screens is going to come up in the thing that we're going to talk about today. So I feel like there's lots of ways of justifying it. But then also I messaged you and said, hey, bit of a random one, but I do a talking head show. Do you want to talk to me? And your reaction was very strong. So I'm keen to unpack a little bit. What is it about talking heads that has meant something to you? Has it impacted you creatively, or just what are your memories of growing up with talking heads? Because I assume like me, you grew up with them.
This is really going back now. I'm dating myself, but
Do
like
it.
they used to have these clubs in the US anyway.
Yeah,
where
we had similar things.
yeah, you would get like 12 CDs for a cent or whatever. But
Yeah, and then you got to buy them for full price after.
right, and then after that, you got to buy one a month or something. And I think I just used that to buy their entire catalog, and then
Terrific.
you know, I don't know how I got out of that deal, but somehow I got out of it. And I got really into the movie and just the way that they all move, especially David Byrne. And This Must Be the Place is one of my favorite songs of all time. I always noticed about that song in particular, a lot of Talking Head songs do this, but the way that song really changes the mood in a room. Like, obviously a lot of music can do that, but that song, like, there's immediately just like, as soon as it comes on, there's just this light in the room suddenly. And I think that's probably what made me really fall hard for them.
I think at that point in their career and their evolution as songwriters and performers, they've really gone through this sort of phase of working with Brian Eno and touring with Adrian Belew and building their credibility to such a huge degree that by the time they write something like This Must Be the Place, you know, they're swapping instruments on that song. And so like people are playing bits and they're not trained or seasoned performers on those instruments. So
Right.
That's why it sort of has at the end brackets naive melody, that it's a little bit like we're acknowledging that we're coming at this from a bit of a naive way, but what it really kind of, I think, unlocks is it just makes it accessible. It makes it relatable for people on an emotional level. So that it just, like you say, people hear it and they just immediately connect to it.
Yeah.
And it's like something's going on here. I can't explain it, but I know something's going on. Bringing it into your current project, the Dream Eaters, the sound, the aesthetic. One of the connections I thought was just the 80s, just that sort of synth poppy sort of approach to songwriting. You probably have a billion references, but is Talking Heads one of them?
Well, yes, I've definitely. I mean, I there are times where I've like just wholesale gone. See, the thing is, I don't even remember this. This is one of the processes that I'll use. Is I'll just like take a song, listen to it, and basically copy it. And then, you know, what happens over the process of doing that is it just gets changed enough where it's unrecognizable by the end.
Exactly.
And I know I've done it with Talking Heads. I just don't remember what it was, and I don't even know what song it is. You know, that's the goal, really, is that you want to not even yourself know. Like, what did I rip off for this? I ripped off something. I don't remember.
If you can't hear it, you've done your job.
Yeah.
Let's move into a little bit the actual release that again, this is sort of a loose framing for having an excuse to call you today to talk about it. This release called Storytelling Giant, which is hard to get your hands on these days, a little bit obscure. I think it really leaves the conversation open to have a general talk about Talking Heads, which is great. But also, it has these weird peculiarities to it that I think are interesting. It was basically like a compilation of Talking Heads music videos from the 80s that, I guess, having done Stop Making Sense, and then David went and directed his movie, True Stories, they were kind of like, he thought, I could do anything, I can do this. And they were like, well, we want to make a compilation of your music videos. And he went, well, you can't just go from one music video to another. That's absurd. You'd have to put in some connective tissue. And what he came up with was this sort of literal Talking Heads framing device to say, I'm going to interview some people and get some weird stories from them, try and stitch it all together and almost make a pattern out of the randomness so that the randomness seems less random because everything's random. Right. And so I always kind of liked that idea. And I thought, when I was like, what can I talk to Jake about? I was like, well, this opens up an opportunity to talk about music, just the 80s being nostalgic and that sort of comeback that it's having these days through pop. And then also these visual collages, video bits and pieces filmed in front of green screens often. I was like, well, this is like Dream Eaters aesthetic. So it might appeal to people who know you more from the Dream Eaters and are coming to this from that. So I wondered if you checked it out and whether, like, I mean, I just sort of sped run through all the music videos because I've seen them all a million times. Yeah. But the interlocking bits were sort of weirder than I remembered them being.
So sort of little mini interviews that are in there, which is sort of the clothesline that all the videos are hung on, that, you know, the through line.
Beautiful way to put it.
Thank you. I didn't make that up. My friend said that to me once, and I thought it was brilliant. So I say it all
I'm
the
going to
time.
tell everybody that.
Cut the part out where I said I didn't make it up.
I'm always assuming that I'm going to be the person in an airplane crash who lives. So I wanted to make I was really, I think, thinking about what a sad thing it was that everyone else was going to die.
Paris, Athens, Nairobi, no, Dar es Salaam. Wait, whichever came first? Athens, then Nairobi, Dar es Salaam.
Well, we know. Those interviews, at first I was watching them, and I've seen bits and pieces of that before. I was watching them and I'm going, are these people really in these places? And then I realized, no, they're just in front of a green screen. Because I mean, obviously, like he didn't go to the desert. Because
Probably not.
Just to explain this to your listeners, there's a bunch of interviews with people that are just talking about their dreams, it seems like, or about stories. It's called storytelling, but it really seems like they're mostly talking about dreams.
Yes. Well, I think there's a few times where they let that slip explicitly, but it makes you question, wait, is everybody here talking about a dream? Some people seem to be talking about real life. So it just creates a bit of doubt, I suppose. You're not sure.
Yeah, right. Well, it adds to the surreality of it. But
my grandparents and my family, everyone knows that I'm a dog. They said, she's a dog, that's Fritzy, and she does that. Because I was a dog for 2 years. You couldn't call me anything but Fritzy, and I would only eat under the table, and I'd crawl on all fours, and I remember planning who I would bite that day.
So anyway, it's fascinating to see. First of all, it just creates a really great effect that they are just kind of, they'll be talking and there'll be like a factory floor behind them. And then, the next scene is like, they'll be talking and the desert is, superimposed behind them like green screen style. And they're all just, they're all just telling these little snippets of dreams or whatever it is. It's all very surreal. Although taken piece by piece, not really all that strange. Like if you heard someone, without the visual, if you just heard it, it wouldn't seem that strange. It's just like a 1 minute story or something. And yeah, it's really interesting. It is a very good way to frame their videos, I would say. It makes a lot of sense.
I think sometimes people start talking about relationships with like, oh, when I was growing up, I did this or that with my brother or sister. And then they go into a song that maybe has that as some of the themes of the song, or dating, and then talking about, a song that's about love, or, there's a few times where I could see some connections. There were other times where it just seemed to be like, okay, this person's talking about, he's telling his dad that he wants to go into show business, and his dad gets really angry and just talking about that. And it gets cut off without a resolution, and you sort of think, well, what? And you get thrown off guard a little bit, but then I guess the song comes in and you sort of drift into song world. Yeah. And I guess David's probable intention is that you would have that impact. And there's some stories where the person continues talking in voiceover right over the start of the clip, the official clip. So it's not like he was very precious about the music videos necessarily.
Right.
The project seemed to be like, well, this is what's important.
It got pretty abusive, and so I just would put my answering machine on, and then I'd go out and I'd come back, and my whole tape would be used up with him calling up all the time. It was really ridiculous. So one night, I'd been out at this bar with some friends, and I'd closed it, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I came home, and there he was sitting in my kitchen. And I was really freaked out because I did not give him keys to my apartment. And it turned out he had thrown a brick through my window and crawled up the fire escape and broke it in.
Yeah, I do love that about it too, the randomness of it. And, this, like you say, like this, what one subject to the next just kind of will collide into each other. And like you say, cut off at random times, which I love. I'm very into that. It works. It works perfectly.
It feels very put together and considered, which I guess it would be. You can imagine someone with less of a sensibility for this sort of thing trying something like this, and it just completely not working. So I think it underscores the talent in that group. There was also a lot of designers and people brought in to construct the box art and everything. I know I sent you like a link. Hey, watch this for the chat, but I don't know if you checked out the box art. But it's just like a close up, a painting of someone's face. You don't know who it is. You don't know who did it. There's no seeming relevance to it other than it's a figure. And I guess this storytelling idea of someone, is the story about her? Are they telling the story? You're not really sure.
Right.
But I looked it up. I was trying to just Google any information I could find about this release. And there's a listing on the Smithsonian website about the box art, not the video, but just the art of the box. And it has this thing called permalink. And I clicked it and it goes to a 404 page, which I was like, I'm pretty sure permalink means permanent link, right? But anyway. An interesting life of how these things kind of come and go, because this release, I guess at the time people thought, well, this is going to be a big seller, the same way that Stop Making Sense was. Yeah. And it seems to have really just come and gone, I guess because everyone can pull up a music video anytime they want these days.
I'm a bit surprised by that, but I mean, I don't think it's quite as timeless as Stop Making Sense. But then again, I have a weird context for that because I know that film and I've known it since I was very young. So Tell
me more about that. What does Stop Making Sense mean to you?
I mean, there's just nothing like it. Kids are still discovering that now and going, what is this? This is incredible, In fact, I think if anything at the time it was, even though they were certainly in the more artistic community, they were very highly valued. It's crazy to me, like how much they've sort of translated through to kids like now. I don't know. Somehow it works. I think maybe because so much stuff was influenced by them over the years that now they seem, like something very familiar to people, and that's very welcoming. But at the time it was jarring. It wasn't. I don't think the kids that weren't into exploring would have liked the Talking Heads, but now I think everybody does.
It seemed to be a real cool thing. Like if you knew it, it was proof that you were cool and that you understood cool things. And now it seems like, well, everyone's seeing, like I was just scrolling on TikTok and then all of a sudden here's David doing some wiggly wormy dance. Yeah. And now everybody knows what that is, or at least has seen it, has some familiarity with it.
That's so funny that they picked up on that too, because that very image is one of the things where I was like, wow, this guy can do anything.
It's true. And it gives everybody license to just be weird and do stuff, which is always a great thing for art.
Right.
To do.
There is something about watching him move in a way that's a little bit more unfiltered. Because on the videos, it's a little bit hard to tell what exactly is going on. And then when you see him do it live, in this much more unfiltered way, where there's, obviously they can cut and stuff, but they can only do so much. They're not creating this look with cameras. They're creating it. He's just creating the look. You could just keep the camera dead still on him the entire time, and it would still be amazingly entertaining. So, there's not very many artists ever that you could say that about.
There is a bit in the clip for This Must Be the Place, but the first half of it is them sitting there watching their home videos, and then at the end of it, they pack that up, walk into the other room, and they rehearse or pretend to play or whatever. But there's this walk that David does as he walks from the living room to the band room, and it's very awkward, and you go, what is he doing? And then he gets to the mic and starts singing, and you realize he was already performing back over there. It's just that now it's like seamlessly transitioned into, now I'm singing this song that we're all going to listen to. It always catches my eye when I watch that clip in particular as well. We also talked about Stop Making Sense, and I try not to, I asked this question, everyone I've interviewed, I've asked this question, which is, if you imagine you were watching Stop Making Sense in a theater full of old people or kids, they're discovering it too, but you suddenly realize you have to go to the bathroom and you're going to have to pick a song to skip. I'm going to miss watching this song, but I have to go to the bathroom. The question is, what song is it going to be?
Well, I mean, I think I heard Burning Down the House to Death, although, I mean, that is an amazing performance. I mean, this is what you could say about any of them. Like, that was never my favorite song by them. I don't know. I never really connected with that one. Like, obviously, there's a great performance of it in Stop Making Sense. In fact, I think I prefer the live version.
That's common.
I guess that would be my choice. I'm not sure how far into the concert that is.
It's not that far. It's about song number 6 or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I like the idea that you'd just be like, get this out of the way, and then I'll come back, settle in, won't disrupt anybody else, and we'll go on the rest of the ride together. I like that idea.
That song does really showcase Bernie Worrell and some of the other players as well. So it would be tough to miss it. But also, I mean, you get back. I mean, it only the song is like 7 minutes long or something live. So you'd only miss however long it takes you to go to the bathroom. I don't know what kind of theater we're talking about here.
Well, that's true. And then if you run, there's obviously not going to be a line. And, not to get too graphic, but some people can pee pretty fast when they really want to. So there's always that. Anyway.
I always have to pee. Every time I go to the theater, I have to pee because I get in there. I like to drink coffee while I'm watching a movie, which is a terrible idea. But it's just so enjoyable to me. Like,
Why would you do that?
I know. I just grab a coffee and I'm like,
while I'm
the
watching, not
buzz.
beforehand. Oh, man. Okay.
Well, I mean, like, this is like, oh God, my movie rituals are so weird. I mean, first of all, I only ever really go to matinees by myself. That's for the most part. Sometimes I'll go with my wife or, a friend or something, but actually almost only ever with my wife. And I get there and, I mean, most of the time I'm by myself, just to go back to that. So the coffee thing makes more sense. So I get there and I get a coffee, like a fairly large coffee, and I drink the coffee like, within the first 20 minutes. And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I have to pee. There's no way I'm going to make it through this whole movie without peeing, So then you do have to do that thing that you're talking about where you're like, but of course you don't even know what's coming. So you're kind of like, oh, what moment should I choose to do this?
I heard that there's apps now where you can pull it up and it will tell you at the 47-minute mark, that's the best time to go pee. And here's a little rundown of what happens while you're going to be peeing. This guy's going to do that thing and she's going to steal the thing so that when you get back, you haven't missed anything. Someone's really thought about that. It wasn't me, I promise.
I got to write that down.
That's all right. You see, this interview's already paid for itself.
Yes.
Okay, this is one of the things that when I messaged you, I was like, again, people may not necessarily put together in their heads, Talking Heads and Dream Eaters, but I was like, there's a great clip for Cross-Eyed and Painless, which was directed by Tony Basil.
Yeah.
And obviously from Mickey fame and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. It features a lot of dancers, break dancers. And I mean, it's, again, very crude and the green screen's very obvious, but still, it really aesthetically speaks to me and some of the Dream Eaters videos, and in particular, the presence of one Mr. Steve.
I am bleeding internally and also externally. What did you do to me? There's no air in my lungs, and I'm crying on the floor of a Walmart store. Crying on the floor of a Walmart store. I don't even know who I am anymore. My blood is all over. My blood is all over the floor.
Like, because he's not a formal member, but he's definitely part of the world. So can you tell me more about that?
He's in the band in every way besides he's not really a recording member. He doesn't really record.
Got it.
It's not that he couldn't. It's just that we just have like all these really, really baked processes where it would just be really hard to extricate anything to get Steve involved with. He could do it if he wanted to, but I don't have time. I don't have time to wait for Steve. He's always kind of the life of the party kind of guy. So like for ages, I would go to parties with him because he was, he was and still is my best friend. He hits that dance floor and, people just love him. I mean, people love him anyway. You don't even need the dancing, but he's just a very lovable guy. And I thought maybe that would translate to film, or let's just call it film, to be high-minded about it.
Sure.
And it does. I think it very much does. Now he is a huge Talking Heads fan. I'm sure there's some David Byrne in his moves, but he's more Mark Mothersbaugh, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of, there's a connection there, to the Talking Heads, definitely. But
you're saying Steve and Eno will work on something soon? Is that what you're?
Well, I don't know. But he produced the first Devo album. So.
Yeah, of course.
But if you see those early videos that they made, like while they were still in college and stuff, like the way that Mark Mothersbaugh moves, you can tell that Steve is very influenced by that. Every time I see early Devo videos, I'm like, wow, Steve really moves
Steve.
Just like that guy.
There's a song that Dream Eaters has.
Botox babies, give that baby Botox. Botox babies, ugly baby Botox. Botox babies, look at that wrinkly little baby face. Botox babies, give that baby Botox.
When it started, I went, oh, Devo. And then later I went, oh, no, B-52s. And I was like, oh, maybe it's a mix of just all of those, people in their mind sort of lump them all together sonically.
I'm gonna 3D print your vagina with my 3D printer. I'm gonna 3D print your vagina with my 3D printer.
3D printer was probably more like I was probably listening to like Paula Abdul or something like that, like something really, really poppy. You know, Janet Jackson, maybe Mariah Carey. I'm guessing that's where that came from because it's got a little bit of the sort of mid to late '80s electro vibe to it. Well, I mean, when a goofy white guy plays it, it has a different sound to it, you know, than it would if it was Janet Jackson, obviously. But
fair. And then to acknowledge the presence of your what would you call Elizabeth, your co-creator and vocalist, and how else do you classify her contribution? Because I remember looking at clips from the earlier days where she was banging on a big floor tom or something to just bring something to it, which I thought was a neat way to bolster the sound of a duo, but also like she obviously adds so much, so I don't want to underplay her involvement either.
Well, I mean, there is no Dream Eaters without her. She's crucially important in a bunch of ways. She's just really, really good. Just to talk about the video side first, she's just very, very good on camera. I think she's a good actor, actually. It's rare that we do this, but if we do sketches or skits or whatever, she always seems to nail those. She just has like a really natural acting ability. Elizabeth.
What?
Have you been listening to anything I've been saying? I asked you a question.
No, not really. I took a bunch of Adderall, so I don't really have the bandwidth to focus on you right now.
Isn't Adderall supposed to make you more focused?
Yeah, but like on things that you want to focus on.
You know, she has a really good, I think, just sense of style and sense of like design and how things should look. And I always think of her as a curator really more than anything. She doesn't really write. She's written like a couple of lines here and there, and she wrote this. I guess it's the second verse of "Rotten Hell," which is exceptional. So I don't. It's funny that she hasn't done more than that, but I don't know. It's just maybe not her. It's not what she's focused on.
Okay.
But she's more of a curator. Like she really. I don't even, you know what, it's funny, she doesn't even really play this role anymore. She used to do it a lot where I would send her stuff and, she would pick this and that and say like, this is good, that one doesn't work, this is good. It's rare that she doesn't think that something that I send her works now, but that's just because she is just so baked into my way of thinking about this that I just know what she'll like. We've been working together for so long that I just know that it's probably going to work. I'm not always right, but I'm usually right, at this point. We just have such a sort of mind meld at this point. So that's Elizabeth. She's the best. I love her. I mean, I could not be more thrilled with these two partners. Like it is just so fun to be around them.
The place that Dream Eaters is at now, to what degree do you feel like that's come from you or come from Elizabeth or come from just working together? Or is it more the influence of the world? And obviously the world's been through a lot in the last 5 years, but it feels like a few years ago there was that direction change for Dream Eaters and things became more explicit that were subdued before. But was there one person or one incident or was it more an internal thing or an external thing? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I think what I started to realize, for one thing, is what people really connected with was some of those things that you mentioned, like the sort of more psychological side of it. There have been many times where I've been very surprised by what people connected with. Like I would just put a video, some videos I put up and go like, this is going to hit, and I'm wrong. And a lot of the time. And then, sometimes I'll put stuff up and I'll be like, no one is going to be into this. And some of those are just evergreen videos. Every time I put them up, they get, 250, 300,000 views. So I don't know. I'm not even sure what the rules are, but from what I can pull out of what people seem to like, a lot of it has to do with the psychological aspect of things and people's sort of day-to-day angst. And that really always seems to translate. It doesn't every time. And I try very hard not to do anything because that's what people like, because it's very rare that I try to do something that people like. It's usually like, I'm surprised. Like I'm surprised that people like this one, but they do,
There's almost an element of like, I guess I'm showing my age too, but like a while ago when internet culture became a thing, there was all this like shorthand and LOL and people reacting with GIFs and things like that. It almost seems like the next evolution of that is I'm reacting with a little Dream Eaters 20-second song about my true reaction to what I'm thinking about you right now. You said before how this release, this Talking Heads release, Storytelling Giant, is like a clothesline that all of the videos hang on. It made me think immediately, there's a visual in one of the videos of a clothesline with a thing hanging on it, which was actually directed by Jim Jarmusch. I don't know if you knew that. It's the one for Lady Don't Mind, the real lost Talking Heads classic. It's, for whatever reason, they don't put it on like the best of. And I'm like, but it's one of my favorite songs of theirs. It's so strange. But anyway, got me thinking, that's probably the clip that is directed by the director with the most sort of prominence, or went on to have the most, you know, fulfilling career. But I guess I was wondering, coming to the Dream Eater video stuff, is there like a director in your mind that would be like, that person would be perfect, I'd love to do something with that person?
Well, Eric Warheim is the first person that comes to mind. I don't know if you know who that is. Okay, right.
Yes.
So he would be, I mean, you know, that's sort of what we were going for.
Yes.
Initially.
Comes through strongly, I think.
Yeah, I think we moved away from it slightly, but I people still see it. And I still, you know, it's just there. It's always going to be there.
What will your first sequence of the day be?
Computer load up, Celery Man, please.
Yes, Paul.
That's the first thing that just comes screaming to mind. I don't know. I'd have to think about that director. I really liked, sort of on the other end of the spectrum, I really liked The Substance. That's one of the best directed things I've seen in a long time. You know, I mean, they're going to be really typical answers. Paul Thomas Anderson.
No, that's fine. No, I'll just work with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Talking Heads. We got to talk about Talking Heads.
Right.
What? Any other clips that stick out as like, oh, I remember seeing that one with a kid and I didn't appreciate it then, or any other favorites, or anything about Talking Heads music video presence? Obviously, they sort of come up in the MTV era. In some ways, some of their videos are like the best that there ever are, the most iconic ones, up there with Devo and whoever else. But anything else from the Talking Heads music video perspective that you're like, oh yeah, you haven't asked me about this yet. Why didn't you ask me about this?
No, I was just kidding.
No, cool, awesome. Talk to you later.
I really love the entire Stop Making Sense movie. I really liked the thing that you the storytelling thing. Because I'd seen bits and pieces of that in the past, but I never really sat down to watch it. I really love the way that looked. Actually, I thought that was really brilliant.
There's clips like Wild Wild Life and Road to Nowhere that are very montagey, and I guess there's just a lot going on. Wild Wild Life also being from the True Stories movie. I don't know if that True Stories movie is on your radar, or you've seen it, or
I've never seen
like it or don't like it.
Steve loves that movie. He has it on Laserdisc. Steve is a guy that has a Laserdisc collection. Like that tells you almost all you need to know about Steve.
If you want to be like Steve, you can still find copies of Stop Making Sense on Laserdisc. True Stories came out on Laserdisc, and this release, Storytelling Giant, came out on Laserdisc as well, and VHS. So
oh, really?
I have seriously considered a few times picking up a Laserdisc player. Maybe I should talk to Steve and say, where do I get one?
Talk to Steve. You will possibly even regret asking him that question because he's going to give you a lot of information.
Oh, that's okay. Sounds like my kind of guy. This came out on Laserdisc for sure, and then later on DVD. So if anyone's trying to track down a copy, if you can find the once in a lifetime 3 CD, 1 DVD package, it's the only way to get it these days, or just look it up on YouTube. That's what I sense.
I wonder if for the DVD, is it still in the same aspect? Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's the same aspect ratio. Yeah, okay, because it was DVD. I mean,
Sometimes
it came out in
fuck with
2003,
and it's just like they try to make it widescreen or whatever. It looks fucking terrible.
It's and then it's still 4:3, but they make it widescreen. So that when you watch it on a widescreen, there's this bizarre black void all the way around. Right. It's like, what are we doing here, people? Yeah. Tell us about Dream Eaters, and obviously, what I understand is that last year was a big creative year for you. A lot of output, an album or a compendium of things that had been released throughout the year into sort of an album format, but. And some tours as well, which I understand you're not touring right now, which is good for me because I get to message you and say, let's have a chat. But what does the future look like? What's coming up for Dream Eaters?
Well, okay, the future, we are, I'm right now I'm finishing up sort of an EP. We're calling it a magazine. This is what we're doing this year for the foreseeable future is releasing things in the Dream Eaters magazine, number 1, number 2, whatever. And so number 1 is, 4 songs. 3 of them are new songs. 1 of them is a live version of something.
Oh, cool.
It'll always just be like that. Probably like a few new songs, a live version, us on the radio. Actually, that's what this is. It's on the radio. So those will be coming out sporadically throughout the year. Last year, we did the quarterly reports, which I found very difficult to keep up with. So the magazine does not have any set time that it comes out. Like, so I don't want to make any guarantees or promises or anything. And I think sort of we did that tacitly with the quarterly reports because our fans were expecting one every quarter, and I was like, oh God, I just have to stick with this now because I made one. I can't make one quarterly report and then not make the rest of them. So, so that's that, and then there'll be videos for all of that stuff. And then we're playing live a lot. It just keeps getting added onto. So we're going, all over the U.S. and Canada this year, and then probably on into Europe next year. I don't think we'll get down to Australia. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But you
heard him say he's coming to Australia in 27. Yes. Yeah. It's tough to get out here.
I know, and I would love to, but I just don't. I don't. Yeah, I mean, you never know. We do seem to have a lot of sort of middle-aged dudes with money that always want us to come. They have the money to pay for us to come do stuff.
Well, that's not me. I don't have money, so.
Yeah. So maybe there'll be some Australians that have money for that. But yeah, we are touring. Starting in June, we're touring quite a bit this year.
And then there seems to be, obviously there's, it's great to log into Spotify or YouTube and just indulge. But then for people that really want to show some appreciation, there's some merch. But is there going to be any physical, obviously vinyl's having a huge resurgence right now, or cassettes? Or is there any plan to do anything like that?
I will probably make cassettes and CDs at some point. Vinyl is just a whole thing, and it's really if you crunch the numbers on vinyl, I have so much shit to do. The idea of trying to add making a vinyl record on top of that, I just doubt that it's going to happen anytime soon. We'll do it at some point. We'll just hopefully be in a position where we can just release 3 or 4 of the albums on vinyl at the same time.
How cool.
Something. But as of right now, it's so much work, getting the preparation and the cover art correct and all that stuff. It's much more work than making a CD because it's a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more, there's just a lot more variables to it. And then how you mix the songs is very important, and, how they're mastered is very important. So I just don't, it's just too time consuming.
No, it's almost like people who do that regularly have teams of people that do it for them, and they're not people, small independent acts working from their home studios or wherever they work and just trying to do it themselves, and they've got a million things to upload and edit and just keep doing. And I know how time consuming even just editing something that seems simple could be. Yeah. And then you've got multiple people to wrangle. You've got Steve to wrangle. You've got puppets to look after and dancers to organize, and it's a whole thing.
Yes, that's right. And playing live is extremely time consuming, but
something about some of the live clips that I've seen, it seems almost to me as though you approach live shows differently than you would obviously a little throwaway video that someone might watch and then forget about. And that sounds obvious to say, but it does seem like you lean for the live sets on the songs that maybe hold up a little bit more on their own. You don't need to sort of know the joke to engage. You could just be at the bar having a drink and suddenly you'd be like, hey, these guys are pretty good. You seem to be selective with the songs that you choose. So is there any insights you can give in terms of when I'm picking what songs I'm going to play live, I look for this sort of thing or that sort of thing?
I think about the audience and, what I want from them and what they want to give to us. So, you can kind of just picture it in your head, okay, I'm bleeding internally is going to work.
Yes.
Crucifix is going to work.
Oh yeah.
They're going to sing it, or at least there's a chance that they're going to sing it. And the anthems really are what really kind of work. Not that I don't think I'm Bleeding Eternally is necessarily an anthem, but you can just always kind of see how it's going to work. The songs with more gravitas are what we tend to play live, but sometimes sometimes it doesn't work that way, but generally, if it really feels like it has some weight to it, it's probably going to work live.
So that's to say, if you are watching this and Dream Eaters are coming to a town near you in America or Canada or possibly Europe, but not Australia, feel free to go and check them out. You know what you're getting in for. You know that Jake has put a lot of thought into the set list and the experience you're going to have. So you're in for a good time. Before I let you go, Jake, could you please tell the good people, if they are interested in finding out some more, where's the best place for them to follow you? Where should they go? What should they do if they want more Dream Eaters or anything you're working on, anything you want to promote?
Well, we're very good about keeping our website updated, and that's just thedreameaters.com. You could just go to thedreameaters.com. It will just redirect you to Linktree. It's just Linktree, but it has, I update the links all the time. So whatever the newest thing that we would like to direct you to is going to be at the top, but everything else is there. It's hard to go wrong on our website. So go to the website, thedreameaters.com.
Excellent. And thank you for sharing some of your Talking Heads fandom with me and talking about this weird release with me. And it's just been so great to connect with someone new. Thank you so much for the time.
Oh, no problem. It was my pleasure.
So there you have it. My big thanks to Jake, and my big thanks to all the Dream Eaters fans who might be watching this, who have stuck through for the conversation and to hear a little bit more about what Dream Eaters are all about, how they came to be, what Steve gets up to, and obviously Jake and Elizabeth are knocking it out of the park with their songs. If you get the chance to see them tour, it really seems to be like something special, so you wouldn't want to miss that. Before we wrap up this conversation altogether, there is a bit of a mystery that I have just recently solved. I mentioned during the interview that the cover for Storytelling Giant has this person's face on it, and I said to Jake how it doesn't seem to be clear who did it, doesn't seem to be clear who the painting is of. Is the person the Storytelling Giant? Is the story about them? It all seems a little bit unclear, but the mystery's been solved. Due to some sleuthing work that I've done, or more reaching out to someone else who did some sleuthing work, I want to say a big thank you to Emily Oberman, who it turns out was the designer of the packaging. I reached out directly to Emily to say, hey, random question, do you happen to know what that face is that's on the front of the Storytelling Giant packaging? Luckily for me, Emily had been traveling and she was severely jet lagged and not sleeping. So instead of sleeping, she spent a lot of time looking on the internet to find the photo for me. She said it was by a painter from a stock library that she was using when she pulled together the design. She thought it was one artist, and I spent a lot of time looking into paintings by that artist, and it turned out that was not who it was by. She did find it. It's called Portrait of a Boy from 1494 by Pietro Perugino. It's just a cropped in version of this portrait. You can see a little bit of it on the VHS cover. You can see more of it on the Laserdisc cover. Incredible to find this. I spent hours Googling and scanning through photos from various painters from that era trying to find it, and really appreciate the work that Emily did trying to track down that painting for me. So there you go. Now we know. Let's put the detail on Wikipedia or something so that no one else has to spend hours or days looking for who actually painted that painting. And just to be extra clear, the original VHS and Laserdisc version of this release doesn't have every Talking Heads music video. If you want that, you have to get the version from the Once in a Lifetime 3 CD, 1 DVD box set, and that includes Blind, Nothing But Flowers, and Saxon Violins. It's mostly faithful to the original version, but it just has those extra clips kind of slipped into it, and it is endorsed by the band or released as an official thing, so as part of that Once in a Lifetime package. So again, if you want to find a secondhand copy of this for yourself, you can always go and do it. That's it from me for now, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that chat. I'll be back with some more content really, really soon. Stay subscribed. Let me know what else you'd like to see on the channel. Until next time, I've been Rod. Take it easy.